In the dying gold of a scorching desert sunset, as dust devils danced across the silent plains, the cowboy named Colton Hayes felt a strange tremor in his chest the moment he found the wounded. Apache woman lying beside the broken cedar tree, her breath faint, her eyes closed, as if the world had already abandoned her. And for the first time in years, a fear sharper than any bullet stabbed through him, because something in the stillness whispered that saving. This woman was going to change everything. He thought he understood, about the West, about loyalty, and about the quiet ache of a lonely heart. And that was the hook that pulled him into a destiny far bigger than the trail he had been riding. He lifted her carefully, the warmth of her skin trembling against his calloused hands, and the moment her head rested against his chest, something unexplainable, powerful, and dangerously tender struck straight into his soul, an emotion so sudden he almost lost his breath. By the time he reached his cabin, the sky had turned purple with night, woven with stars that felt like they were silently watching this unexpected story unfold. And as he laid her down on his bed, her lashes fluttered weakly, her voice barely a whisper of pain and gratitude mixed together. And that first fragile sound hit him deeper than any memory of loss he had long buried beneath his cowboy grit. Within minutes, emotions seeped into the story, spreading like wildfire. He realized this wasn't just a simple rescue, not when every heartbeat inside him thudded as if protecting her had always been written into his fate. He tended to her injuries through the long night, gently washing the dried blood, wrapping her wounds, whispering reassurances even though she was unconscious. And every touch awakened a deeper fear, that he was already caring for her more than he ever meant to care for anyone again. Not after the life he'd lived, not after losing his family to an outlaw raid years ago that had shattered his trust in the world. She stirred at dawn, her soft gasp filling his cabin like a forgotten song returning to life. Her eyes, deep, fierce, and shimmering with both strength and hurt, met his for the first time. And in that split second, Colton felt his world tilt off its axis. She tried to sit up but winced, collapsing back with a whisper, "It's too much." Her voice trembled with pain, shock, and the helplessness of someone who had survived something terrible. But then her gaze hardened with a quiet fire, and she continued in a whisper that carried the weight of generations. "But I accept." Those words stole the breath from his lungs. Accept what? Accept life returning? Accept help from a stranger? Accept the pain she must endure to heal? Or did she mean something deeper? Something she understood before he did? Colton swallowed, feeling the gravity of the moment as he gently steadied her back against the pillow. She explained slowly, haltingly, in a mix of Apache and broken English, that she was called Ayana, a name meaning eternal blossom, and she had been separated from her tribe when a violent dust storm hit and bandits attacked the valley. She had fought back, fiercely, bravely, but had fallen from her horse and barely escaped with her life. Listening to her, Colton's jaw clenched, anger rising toward the men who had done this. But stronger than the anger was the steady, growing protectiveness in his chest. He promised her in a voice firm as the desert stone, "You're safe here. Nobody's gonna touch you." Again, Ayana studied him with eyes that could see straight into the unspoken parts of a man's soul. And for a moment he feared she saw too much, saw how deeply he already cared, how his heart had begun to surrender without permission. Days passed in a warm, intense rhythm inside that small wooden cabin. Colton cooked for her, changed her bandages, told her stories of the frontier, and listened as she shared pieces of Apache wisdom, each one carrying a soft strength that fascinated him. And though he told himself not to feel anything, not to let emotions take root, the more time he spent with her, the more he realized he was losing that battle. The desert outside remained harsh, wild, and unforgiving, but inside the cabin, everything felt gentler, almost sacred. One evening, while the fire cracked softly and shadows swayed across the walls, Ayana reached for his hand, slowly, hesitantly, and when her fingers touched his, it sent a shock through him so powerful he forgot how to breathe. "Why do you look away?" she asked quietly. He swallowed hard, replying, "Because it's too much." She smiled faintly, pain and warmth blending in her expression. "Yet you accept it," she whispered, turning his own fear into truth, reminding him that neither of them had chosen this connection, yet here it was, undeniable and alive. As she healed, they began stepping outside together, Ayana leaning on him as she walked, dust swirling around them like threads of fate weaving tighter. The more she regained her strength, the more Colton realized that the day she would leave him was approaching, and the thought carved a hollow ache in him deeper than any wound he had ever taken. One night, as a cold wind rustled the cottonwood trees, Ayana stood beside him, gazing toward the distant mountains where her tribe waited. Her voice broke with emotion. "I must return, but leaving your heart behind feels harder than facing the storm that separated me from my people." Colton's breath hitched. Her words sliced through the last of the walls he had built around himself. "Ayana, But she pressed her fingers gently to his lips, stopping him. "Your eyes already told me," she whispered. And in that moment, beneath the wide western moon, he realized she was right. He had fallen for her long before he even understood it. But destiny was not cruel that night. As dawn broke, her tribe returned, having tracked her trail for days. They approached peacefully, grateful, respectful. Ayana stepped toward them, then turned back one last time. Her eyes spoke fear, hope, and a question deeper than words, but Colton answered it by stepping forward, placing his hat over his heart, and bowing his head with a sincerity no language needed to translate. Her chief, seeing the bond between them, spoke gently. "If a heart chooses its own path, the tribe does not stand in its way." Ayana smiled, tears glistening. She walked back to Colton, placed her palm against his chest, and whispered the same words she had spoken the day she awoke, but now with a new meaning, a promise woven inside. "It's too much, but I accept." And as the sun rose behind them, lighting the desert gold once more, Colton realized that sometimes the West didn't just take, sometimes it gave back something far more powerful than any cowboy expected, a reason to hope, a reason to heal, and a love that felt as wild and eternal as the frontier itself.